Hey, good afternoon. My name is Charles Patton. I'm assistant principal here at South Brunswick High School, and I'm here to talk to you very briefly about Dr. Max Thompson. Our friends at the Department of Ed and the Department of Public Instruction provide us a whole lot of resources, namely monetary, but not limited to that. For the sake of our purposes, we're going to put the dollar sign there. And in order to keep receiving those resources, the accountability model says, well, Brunswick County Schools, you need to be accredited. So Brunswick County Schools says, okay, Advanced Ed, will you accredit us? Advanced Ed is an international accreditation agency that focuses on research-based strategies. Their expectations for us were, we want to see great, focused instructional design. So in order to do that, Brunswick County Schools backed up and said, okay, what research-based practices can we put into place that will help us learn how to better focus our instructional design? Nice and aligned. Part of this is Dr. Mark, which many of you have done some filming and worked with Dr. Mark in your schools. The other part of this is Dr. Max Thompson and his 4 high-impact practices. Now, things that we know. In Brunswick County Schools, 55 to 75% of our students come from a socioeconomically disadvantaged background. What the Dr. Max Thompson research says is the higher your free and reduced lunch population or SES disadvantaged population is, the more consistency you need to see in a school in terms of strategies and activities used in classrooms. So, here we go. Strategy number 1, vocabulary. This is fundamental to many of us because words are how we organize our learning. Without those anchors, it's very difficult to interact with the content. And what's important about that population of SES disadvantaged students is they will hear 2 to 4 times fewer words at home than their counterparts from middle or upper income families. So we want to make sure we encourage and explicitly teach vocabulary in our classrooms to provide every student an option to interact with the curriculum. Several strategies that Dr. Max Thompson offers are things you may have heard of: word sorts, word mapping, semantic mapping, Freyer graphic models. Those are things some of you may have used. Some of you may want to look them up. I highly recommend it. Google is a great tool. Here we go. Number 2, summarizing. This is something we almost all do on a regular basis. And to put it the way Dr. Pruden said in our faculty meeting, and sorry, Dr. Pruden, if I don't get this quite right, but asking a student to summarize makes the gears in their head turn in a way that makes them make a funny face. It genuinely does engage students in a way that makes the thinking sort of difficult, which is sometimes what we want. Now, this is the important part according to Dr. Max Thompson. That summarizing has to be distributed. You can pause the video and look at these graphics if you want to look. All the research says that this is what typical lessons look like in a classroom. Introduction, active teaching through the content, mass-guided practice where all the students are working on procedural knowledge, sometimes conceptual knowledge. The distributed summarizing, you can tell it's the end of a long year, right? Is what allows students the chance to break down and segment the content that they're dealing with. The summarizing has to be integrated throughout the lesson for it to be effective. Reading comprehension. This is a graph taken from some research that the Learning Focus Group did. They sent 100 educators in 50 states, I think it was 50,000 educators, and they asked them to write a bunch of questions based on 3 reading passages. And of the hundreds of thousands, I think they got 70,000. 100,000 is way too many. Of all the questions that came back, 70% were basic recall. Not very high in the Bloom's level. 20% is compare and contrast, 5% is inference, and 5% is all other. We've done a lot of work in this county this year about critical thinking and thinking about how we're integrating Bloom's into the classroom. The data here would say that across the country, we all have that same work to do. The key here is this: we're not here to teach students to read. We're here to allow students to interact with text in a meaningful way. Not with texts, they're already really good with that. Strategies are here. Feel free to pause the video and check those out if you would like. Number 4, writing to raise achievement. Here's the key. This is not the same thing as simple word formation. When we're writing to raise achievement, we're asking students to do these things and to craft their use of written language in such a way that they're interacting with vocabulary. The whole focus here is expository writing, expressing ideas in formal written language. Now, that's the 4 strategies. This whole thing is a different way to present information. It's all based on some research coming out of the Friday Institute at NC State in Raleigh. It's called the Phys Lecture of Flipping the Classroom. This is a plug to go to Tech Camp here next week, 2 weeks, sometime in a few weeks. There will be a session for teachers as well as a session for administrators. I'm teaching the administrator session. Megan Anderson, the teacher at Southport Elementary, will be teaching the classroom teacher session of how to flip. For anybody who may want to have some more research, there's a guy named Dr. Lodge McCammon. You can watch his videos right here. If you just pause the video and scan that, it'll show up with what you need. And in about 8 minutes, I bet he'll convince you to rethink how you view reflective practice and what you do in the classroom. And so for all of you who've been searching for a way to spend more time dealing with content and getting out of having to directly present that, this might be a good opportunity for you to examine some other strategies to do that. If you have any questions, feel free to email me at cpatton@bcswan.net. I will put a link to this website in case the scan doesn't work in the comments below. If you have any questions about this, feel free to rewatch the video. You can press play over here, and I'll put a link to the Phys stuff in the bottom in case QR doesn't work. I might have already said that. It's a Friday. Have a lovely afternoon. Hope everybody had a great school year. We'll see you later.